like iron from the fire, getting stronger. This is how legends are made. Above it all, untouchable, a new animal.
It's your boy back with my Week 9 NFL predictions. Of course, some fantasy football talk. Week 8 had me at 10-6 for the week. Not too bad. Double digits, I'll take it. 15 games to be played in Week 9. Got the 49ers and the Steelers on bye. Can I get 12 victories? Possible. Let's see. So with no further ado, let's get into this. Starting with our Thursday night game. Got the Houston Texans coming off a victory over those Colts. Barely. Hitting the road to the Big Apple to take on these Jets. Took an L at the hands of those Patriots. C.J. Stroud, not looking like the quarterback from last year, but he put up 285, threw a touchdown, no interceptions. Gonna have to get it done without Stephon Diggs. Out for the year. Check that knee up. Already without Nico Collins. It's gonna be a tough task against the number 3 defense against the pass with the Jets. All fairness, the Texans do have the number 4 defense against the pass as well, but I like that offensive side of the ball with the Jets a little bit more this week than C.J. Stroud's squad. Now, he do have Joe Mixon, who's been balling, broke 100 yards, got a touchdown out of it, added some yards out the backfield, receiving-wise. Need a little bit more, Tank Dell. You're going to have to be the one to step up. 35 yards receiving and a touch, but we need more. Now, I think it's time for Aaron Rodgers and company to start gelling. I mean, Garrett Wilson, he's been balling, even with all this drama around him. 5 catches, almost 115 yards, no touchdowns. Devontae Adams, this is your 3rd game. This should be your first 100-yard game, in my opinion, even though the Texans are good against the pass. You're supposed to be one of the best to ever do it. It's time for you to prove it. I mean, 4 receptions, just hit 50 yards, no touchdowns. Nah, you're mediocre with that. Let's get it going. Conklin caught a touchdown. Rodgers, 233, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Let's see what y'all got against these boys over there in Houston. I think you're going to get it done. Final score, 21-17, Jets. Kicking off our 1 o'clock games, we got the New Orleans Saints coming off a loss to those Chargers. Hitting the road to Carolina to take on these Panthers. Also coming off a loss to the Broncos. Andy Dalton lost his job. Car accident? You hurt your thumb, huh? Andy Dalton, 93 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. Yeah, it should be Bryce Young this week starting the game, in my opinion. I don't like being right as a result of an injury, but Jameis Winston, it happened to him last week too. It's not my fault. I'm just calling it as I see it. Bryce Young had a decent game, for him anyway. 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, also threw 2 picks. Jalen Coker was his guy, 4 receptions, 78 yards and a touch. Chuba Hubbard's had better games, just rushed over 50 yards, no touchdowns. Traded Deontay Johnson to the Ravens, the number 1 offense already in the league. Wow. Clearly y'all going for that number 1 draft pick. Why not? Yeah, the Saints going to get this done. Derek Carr, welcome back. Spencer Rattler, what he threw for 156 yards. 107 of those went to Olave. No touchdowns. Both of these defenses are horrible. Saints are number 32nd in the league. But right in front of them at 31 is Carolina. Saints do have the number 3 fancy player in Alvin Kamara. He's been balling all year. He got his extension. He got his money. I think the Saints are going to get this done on the road. Pretty easy game for them. Final score, 21-14 Saints. Daniel Jones led his Washington Commanders to a thrilling victory this past weekend over those Bears. If you didn't watch the game, you saw the highlights. Tariq Stevenson, what were you thinking, man? Focus on the game, not the fans. Even your fans telling you the play started. You happen to be the one to tip the ball to Noah Brown. Laughing stock of the NFL. and you will be that all year long. Now, these Commanders hitting the road to New York, take on these Giants, coming off a loss of those Steelers. I don't think Daniel Jones is going to keep this job much longer. He threw for 245, threw a pick, no touchdowns. He got Darius Slay involved for 100 yards, no touchdowns. Malik Neighbors broke 70, no touchdowns. Even Tyrone Tracy couldn't save the day. 145 yards rushing on 20 carries. He balled, but he's in concussion protocol right now. They need him, and I think he's going to be the bell cow. Devin Singletary, only 2 carries, right? No, it's going to be too much because this Washington team has been balling. They're on a mission. I mean, look at Daniels, over 330 yards passing, touchdown, no picks. Scary Terry McLaurin caught 100 plus of those himself. The only touchdown catch went to Noah Brown. We saw how that ended, right? He got 3 catches for 70 plus yards on that touch. Running game, what are they, number 2 in the league, number 3 passing the ball. I mean, Eckler does most of his damage receiving, and then Brian Robinson Jr., he does this thing. So I see them continuing to roll in this one. Final score, 24-17. Washington gets a road victory. Miami Dolphins suffered an L at the hands of those Cardinals last week, hitting the road to Buffalo to take on these Bills in the division game after giving the Seahawks a loss of their own. And that's a top 3 offense over there. Only gave up 10 points. Yeah, the Buffalo defense is starting the ball. Welcome back to Tagovailoa. Efficient game, 230 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no picks. That touchdown went to Devon Achane, who added 97 yards rushing, plus 50 yards receiving, making him the number 2 fantasy running back in week 8. Not bad. How about Tyreek Hill? Only 6 catches, broke 70 yards, no touchdowns, but that's going to improve. Even Jalen Waddle caught 4 balls, broke 50, no touchdowns. This is the 3rd ranked defense in the league. Still don't think it's going to be enough against this Bills team at home because they've been balling. How about Josh Allen? Over 280 yards passing, 2 touchdowns in the air through his first pick of the year. Josh led the league in interceptions last year. That's a heck of a turnaround. James Cook added 111 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, making him the number 1 Week 8 fantasy player. That's pretty good that this game has 1 and 2 about to go head-to-head. Not bad. Khalil Shakir had a game, 9 receptions, broke 100 yards, no touchdowns. Those 2 touchdowns went to Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid. I think this Bills team is the real deal. They're gelling once again at the right time. They're going to get their 7th victory at home. Final score, 28-24, Bills. LA Chargers feeling good after their victory over the New Orleans Saints, as they should. Hitting the road to Cleveland, take on this Browns team that shocked the NFL world by beating the Ravens. I see you, Jameis. How about Justin Herbert? 280 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Both of those to his rookie, Ladd McConkey. Put up 111 yards receiving, making him wide receiver 2 in fantasy football for week 8. Need more rushing from J.K. Dobbins. Put up 57 yards rushing, but did get a touchdown, salvaging his fantasy day. Don't think it's going to be enough because Jameis Winston balled. 330 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no picks. 2 of those went to Cedric Tillman. 7 catches, 99 yards, making him wide receiver 3 in fantasy football for week 8. Jerry Jeudy put in 79 yards. I forgot they had Elijah Moore. 8 catches, 85 yards. And then David Njoku caught him a touchdown. I do love that Nick Chubb had 16 carries. You start giving that guy 20 to 25, yeah, he's going to put up some numbers. I think Cleveland's offense is going to continue to roll. I think their defense is going to catch up to them. Cleveland's going to get another victory at home. Final score, 21-17, Browns. How about those New England Patriots last week, beating their division rivals, those New York Jets? Now they're heading to Tennessee to take on this Titans team that got their butts spanked royally by those Detroit Lions. 38-point deficit. Wow. New England may have to do this without their quarterback, Drake May, currently in concussion protocol. Today's Wednesday, so who knows. In comes Jacoby Brissett, only threw for 132 yards. Clearly hurt this wide receiver core. Demario Douglas, only 2 catches. Hunter Henry led the team in receiving, 5 of them, 45 yards. The running game was hurt a little bit. Ramondre Stevenson did get 2 touchdowns, but didn't break 50 yards rushing. Don't think they're going to get it done against this number 1 defense out there in Tennessee. Number 1 against the pass, number 8 against the run. Yeah, they had the number 1 pass defense last week, but Detroit didn't put up a lot of passing yards, if you watch that game. I think Tony Pollard's going to get it done on the ground. What did he have, 95 yards, something like that, rushing. How about Calvin Ridley? 10 catches for 145-plus yards. Finally, need you to step up and be that number 1 person, right? Mason Rudolph, 266 yards passing, threw 2 interceptions, but he did throw a touchdown. I think this is going to be enough to get it done. Ride that defense. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but Tennessee's going to get it done. Final score, 17-14 Titans. Dallas Cowboys coming off a loss to those 49ers, hitting the road to the ATL, take on these Falcons, who got a victory over those Bucs last week. Dak's doing what he can with what he got, right? Threw for 240-plus yards, 2 touchdowns, but also 2 interceptions. Can't run the ball. Zeke, he had 35 yards rushing. He got a touchdown out of it. Ferguson, 6 catches, 23 yards. Not going to get it. Only one that came to play in this game, C.D. Lamb, 13 catches, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, that made him the number 1 wide receiver in Week 8 fantasy football. Is that enough to get it done against this Falcon team? I don't think so. Kirk Cousins ball too. 276 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Yeah, that made him quarterback 2 Week 8 fantasy football. I see you, Kurt. 2 of those touchdowns went to Kyle Pitts. Man, I'm so happy about that. Also added 91 receiving yards to his totals, making him tight into Week 8 fantasy football. Darnell Mooney caught a touchdown, plus 80 yards receiving. The other touchdown went to Bijan Robinson. He did his thing. Also added 7 catches, plus 60 yards rushing. I think this Falcon team is going to get it done against this Cowboy squad at home. Final score, 28-24. Falcons. Got my Las Vegas Raiders coming off a loss to those Chiefs, on their way to Cincinnati to take on these Bengals, who took an L at the hands of those Eagles. Not a big Gardner Minshew fan, but he was efficient. 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Jacoby Myers caught one of those. But he had 6 catches for 52 yards. Welcome back. He's been hurt. We have the number 1 receiver in all of football, and Brock Bowers, 52 receptions. Number 2 tight end in fantasy football. He had 5 catches for 58 yards, no touchdowns. Can't run the ball. Alexander Madison, 15 carries, 16 yards. It's not going to get it. It's mainly our offensive line, which sucks. Don't think we have enough to get it done. Joe Burrow, one of the better quarterbacks in football, only threw for 230 yards. Threw a touchdown, also threw a pick. That touchdown went to Jamar Chase, the number 1 wide receiver in all of fantasy. He had, 9 catches, 54 yards. Did it without T. Higgins. He was on the sideline today. Wasn't practicing, just rehabbing. But he played. Let's see. Chase Brown didn't do much on the ground. I think he had 30-something yards, had a touchdown. They got enough, though. Enough to get it done. Mike Gesicki, that tight end, 7 catches, 70-plus yards. They got weapons. Got enough weapons to get past my Raiders in a low-scoring game. Final score, 17-14 Bengals. Red-hot Denver Broncos riding high after that victory over Carolina last week. Hitting the road to Baltimore. Play a pissed-off Ravens team after suffering a loss at the hands of those Browns. Bo Nix, he balled. 220 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no picks. One of those went to Adam Troutman also added 80 yards receiving. I see you. There was a Cortland Sutton sighting, 8 catches, 100 yards. Can he keep that up? I don't know. Javonte Williams, subpar, running the ball, 44 yards, no touchdowns. Do they have enough to get it done in Baltimore? I don't think so. Even though Baltimore has the worst defense against the pass, they're number 1 against the run. How does that happen, right? Still got Derrick Henry, added 73 yards on the ground, plus a touchdown. And of course, they got Lamar Jackson, put up 289 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Ran the ball 8 times. Dual threat. What a weapon. Zay Flowers, 7 catches, 110 plus yards, no touchdowns. Now those went to Mark Andrews, keeping that streak going. Also Nelson Aguilar, he caught 1. They're getting it done over there. I mean, they have the number 1 offense. They have the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football. They have the number 1 running back in fantasy football. Number 4 pass attack. I mean, this team on paper is everything, but they've been showing out as well most of the year. So I think they got it enough to get it done against this Denver defense at home. Final score, 24-17. Ravens get back in the win column. Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears, plus their fans, still got to be pissed after that Hail Mary loss to the Commanders last week. Now they're hitting up Arizona to play these 4-4 Cardinals led by Kyler Murray, coming off his best game of the year over those Dolphins. 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I see you. Marvin Harrison Jr. got one of those touchdowns while adding 6 receptions for 111 yards. Do that every week. I love that. How about Trey McBride? 9 catches, 124 yards. No touchdowns, but I'll take them numbers, right? Matter of fact, was it Michael Wilson caught that other touchdown? You need to run the ball a little bit better with James Conner. 54 yards, but he did get a touchdown. Salvage his fantasy day. I don't know. I just think that Chicago had a bad day, even after a bye week. And Caleb is a rookie. Played like he did those first 3 weeks of the season. I think they're going to bounce back. Number 7 against the pass, while the Cardinals are like 26th against the pass. Caleb tends to have a good day if he got time to throw that rock. I mean, DeAndre Swift had a game, 129 yards rushing. He got a touch out of it. That was it. Dunze led the team in receptions with 3. Keenan Allen and DJ Moore both had 2. He's not going to get it. I think Caleb's going to bounce back. I think the Chicago team is going to get back in the winning column on the road. Final score, 21-17 Bears. Got the Jacksonville Jaguars coming off a loss to those Green Bay Packers. Hitting the road to Philadelphia. Take on this Eagles squad. Beating up on those Bengals last week rather convincingly. Trevor Lawrence, not a bad stat line. 300 yards passing. 2 touchdowns and a pick. One of those went to Brian Thomas Jr., also adding 60 receiving yards. Evan Ingram caught that other touchdown. Then y'all lost Christian Kirk for the year. Broken collarbone. Get well soon, man. Christian Kirk, he shouldn't be on your fantasy team. He should be on the waiver wire, buried. Travis Etienne still dealing with a hamstring, so Tank Bigsby was the bell cow. Only rushed for 70-plus yards. Don't think they're going to be able to get it done in Philly because Jalen Hurts had a game. 16 of 20, 230 yards passing and a touchdown, but he rushed for 3 of them. Tush push, did his thing, making him the number 1 fantasy quarterback in week 8. He did his thing. That touchdown went to Devontae Smith. He's been balling. Added 85 receiving yards of his own. Then A.J. Brown. No touchdowns, but he added 84 yards receiving. Don't forget about Saquon. 100 yards rushing. No touchdowns, but he's still the number 3 fantasy running back in all of football. I think this Eagles team got too much for this Jacksonville squad. It's not going to be a close game at all. Final score, 28-17 Eagles. Got the new and improved L.A. Rams coming off a victory over those Vikings last week. Hitting the road to Seattle. Take on this Seahawks team that got their butts kicked up and down the field against those Bills. Geno Smith, y'all didn't look good, man. Now, you threw for 200 yards. no touchdowns and a pick. Tyler Lockett, 1 catch. No DK Metcalf. How about Kenneth Walker, 9 carries, 12 yards? Nah, y'all got the #1 pass offense in the league, right? But this ain't going to get it done. Not against Matthew Stafford and company over there in L.A. He threw for 280 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. Welcome back, Puka Nacua. He got 100 yards receiving, no touchdowns in his first game. Cooper Kupp got a touchdown while adding 50 yards receiving. He did his thing. Kyron Williams, no touchdowns rushing, just missed 100 yards, but he did get 1 receiving. I tell you what, this Rams team is going to be tough to deal with the rest of the year if they can stay healthy, right? I think they're going to take this one in Seattle. Final score, 28-24. Watch out. Detroit Lions whipped up on them Titans. Wasn't even close, 51 points. Wow, they are balling. Hitting the road to Green Bay, take on this Packers squad. Got a victory over those Jaguars, but at what cost? Jordan Love dealing with a growing injury, questionable to play, but they think he's got a good chance. So without him, this game won't be close. With him, we'll call it the game of the week. Malik Willis, when he came in, the passing game stopped. Jaden Reed, 55 yards, no touchdowns. Romeo Dobbs, 72 yards, no touchdowns. Now, Tucker Kraft, he caught a touchdown pass from Malik Willis while ending up with 78 yards receiving. Josh Jacobs has been that bell cow. What do you have, 127 yards rushing? Got a touch out of it, but they're going to need Jordan Love. Without him, no chance. Look at what your boy over there is doing in Detroit, Jared Goff. 12 for 15, 86 yards, and 3 touchdowns. What is his completion percentage on the year? Something like 80%? It's ridiculous. David Montgomery, 9 carries for 33 yards, rushing, got a touchdown. He also threw for a touchdown to Sam Laporta. Wow. Jahmyr Gibbs only needed 11 carries to get 127 yards rushing and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown caught a touchdown. Khalif Raymond, you kidding me? Punt return, touchdown. Also received a touchdown. I think he was the first player in history to do that. The Detroit team is ridiculously good. I don't see them losing in this one. I don't see them losing anytime soon. Final score, 28-21, Lions. Indianapolis Colts coming off a tough loss to the Texans last week. Now they got to hit the road to Minnesota, play an upset Vikings squad after a tough loss to those Rams. Anthony Richardson had a tough game. 10 completions on 32 attempts. Wow. 175 yards, threw a touchdown, threw a pick, but not a good game. I mean, Josh Downs got 100 yards receiving, got a touch. Jonathan Taylor, 100 yards rushing, got a touch. But a lot of people felt like old man Joe Flacco should have been the quarterback. Anthony Richardson took over the starting role from Joe Flacco. I think it was a week too soon. He only threw for 120 plus yards. No interceptions, no touchdowns. It's all good, Anthony. You're going to have your chance to get your job back next year, maybe. But they're going to put their money on old man Joe, just like I am. But just not this week. I think Sam Darnold is going to have another good game. 240 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks last week. You know Justin Jefferson got his. Number 3 fantasy wide receiver. He's doing his thing. Aaron Jones, he's a threat. Running the rock and receiving. Just missed 100 all-purpose total yards, but I think this Minnesota squad is real deal. Number 3 against the run. They give up some passing yards. They're going to get back in the win column. This game shouldn't be that close. Final score, 28-21 Vikings. In our Monday night game, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off a loss to those Falcons. Hitting the road to Kansas City. Play those 7-0 Chiefs. Coming off a victory over the Raiders. Bake did what he could. He threw for 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. This is without Mike Evans. And I already lost Chris Godwin for the year. They should be getting Mike back after their bye week, but Not going to help them this week. Bucky Irvin, Rasheed White, they rushed the rock. Had to do it receiving. But Cade Otton, tight end 1 in week 8 fantasy football. I mentioned that last week. He did his thing. He had 8 catches, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not a bad day. But y'all do have the 30th ranked defense. That's going to be a problem. I'm starting Patrick Mahomes this week over C.J. Stroud. They do have the number 2 defense overall, number 2 against the run, number 10 against the pass. It's going to be a problem for you, Tampa Bay. Travis Kelce, he balled. What do you have, 10 catches? He didn't want to play like this soon, but you lose Rasheed White. And, of course, D-Hop, he ain't showing up yet. I think he will once he get that playbook down. And, of course, y'all got Kareem Hunt running that ball pretty well. He got a touchdown, only 50 yards rushing. I think this Kansas City team is going to start gelling here very soon. Xavier Worthy, he got in the end zone. It's going to be a problem. And they're 7-0, probably the worst 7-0 team in the history of football. But they're winning, and they're going to win this week. Final score, 24-21 Chiefs. There you have it. My week 9 picks are in final. Some tough games to call, but it is what it is. Let's get those 12 wins, right? Let me put my bets up. Missed out last week. First time in 3 weeks I missed my bets. Let's see if we can get back on track with those. Meet me back here on Wednesday where we'll talk about my week 9 results and we'll drop my week 10 picks. Until then, peace.